In the 1950s, near the California desert, a company town named Victory houses families living under strict routines. Each morning, the men leave for work at Victory headquarters, while the women stay home to manage the household and attend ballet lessons taught by Shelley. The wives are not allowed to ask about their husbands' jobs or visit the headquarters. Among the residents are Alice and Jack, a married couple known for their frequent parties with neighbors, especially Alice's friend Bunny and her husband. Alice often hums a familiar tune while doing chores. Occasionally, the town experiences brief tremors. When Alice questions Jack about them, he avoids the topic, and she quickly lets it go. One afternoon after ballet class, Bunny and Alice observe men in red jumpsuits helping a new neighbor move in. They gossip about Margaret, who skipped class again. Margaret has become isolated from the community following an unexplained event. Later, Alice sees Margaret standing in her backyard holding a toy plane, eyes closed, seemingly in a trance. Alice sees this, but chooses to ignore it. While preparing dinner, Alice discovers that the eggs in her carton are all empty. She's distracted before she can think more about it when her food starts to burn in the oven. Days later, during a pool party at Shelley's house, Alice hums her usual tune. Bunny complains about the song, prompting Alice to realize she doesn't know its origin. As she focuses on the melody, she briefly sees strange visual flashes, but forgets them when Bunny interrupts her. Shelley and her husband Frank, who is the CEO of Victory, pause the party to welcome the new neighbors. The speech is interrupted when Margaret speaks out, questioning their presence in the town. Her husband quickly removes her. To ease the tension, Frank reassures the guests that they are part of a project aimed at building a safe and orderly community. Alice remains concerned about Margaret and goes to her house, where she sees Margaret's husband giving her medication. Margaret tries to explain that she's been having nightmares and is being held against her will, but her husband shuts the door on Alice. Back at the party, Alice finds Jack adjusting his tie in Frank's room. Jack unexpectedly initiates intimacy, but the moment turns strange when Frank enters and silently watches before walking away. Alice keeps the incident to herself. The next day, Alice shops with her friends. They talk about Margaret's odd behavior since the incident. Bunny reminds them it wasn't an accident. Margaret broke the rules by taking her child into the desert after claiming to see something. She returned alone, holding his toy plane. The child was never found, and Margaret believes he was taken as punishment. Their conversation is interrupted by another tremor, but no one reacts. When someone mentions rumors about weapon development, Bunny quickly silences her, insisting the wives' role is to support their husbands and avoid questions. That night, Alice begins having unsettling dreams and can't stop thinking about them. Needing air, she rides the trolley but doesn't get off at the mall. Instead, she stays on to watch the desert, which the driver finds odd. Suddenly, a plane resembling Margaret's toy crashes in the desert. Curious and concerned, Alice asks the driver to go there, but he refuses due to the rules. Alice gets off and walks into the desert alone. She eventually finds a hill with a spiral path and climbs it, discovering a dome at the top. She approaches it, calls out, and touches the glass. Instantly, her body jolts. Her head snaps back, and a flood of disturbing images flashes before her eyes as Frank's voice speaks about abandoning chaos. Alice blinks and finds herself back in bed. Confused, she goes to the kitchen and sees Jack cooking. He says she was already home when he arrived. Alice brings up the crash, but Jack insists nothing happened, claiming the town would be talking about it. She dismisses it as a dream, and Jack calms her down. The next day, while cleaning windows, Alice sees the wall behind her shift forward and trap her against the glass. She struggles until it snaps back to normal. Just another hallucination. Then the phone rings. Margaret tells Alice she saw it too and urges her to leave, saying they're being lied to. Alice denies it and hangs up, but the call stays with her. During ballet class, Alice is shocked when her reflection becomes Margaret. At first, the reflection mirrors her movements, then suddenly bangs its head against the glass. Alice screams, but no one else sees it. When she turns around, the reflection is gone. Disturbed, Alice rushes home and finds Margaret standing on her roof. Alice begs her to come down, but Margaret doesn't respond and jumps. Alice runs to help, but is stopped by the men in red, who appear and take Margaret away. That evening, Alice tries to explain what she saw, but Jack dismisses it. Margaret's husband has already told everyone it was just an accident while cleaning the windows, and now she's recovering at the hospital. Frustrated by being ignored, Alice questions Jack about his job and what the company is hiding. Jack loses patience, warns her that asking too many questions could cost them their lifestyle, and leaves. Unable to sleep, Alice turns on the TV to distract herself, but ends up hallucinating that she's drowning in a pool, similar to when the wall pressed her against the glass. She blinks and suddenly finds herself standing by the window, unsure how she got there. The next morning, while wrapping up leftovers, her hands move uncontrollably and begin wrapping part of her body. She quickly stops and removes the wrap, realizing she's not in control anymore. Later, Jack brings Dr. Collins to examine her. Collins says the symptoms are likely due to stress from seeing Margaret fall. When Alice explains what she actually witnessed, Collins insists the mind can distort events under emotional strain. He offers medication, but both Alice and Jack decline. While Collins is packing up, Alice notices he has files on Margaret in his briefcase. She asks about her, and Collins explains that Margaret had emotional breakdowns and paranoia, which disrupted her husband's work. As a result, he was fired from Victory, and Margaret was relocated for treatment. After leaving, Collins realizes he forgot his briefcase and returns for it. In the meantime, Alice tries to open it, but is caught when he comes back. She quickly pretends she was just picking it up to return it, and Collins believes her. After Dr. Collins leaves, it's revealed that Alice managed to steal Margaret's files, but every page has been redacted. With the documents useless, she burns them in the fireplace while drinking whiskey. Later, she continues drinking during a bath, and her mind drifts into another hallucination. This time, a mix of disturbing imagery and peaceful moments between a couple. She snaps out of it when Jack returns home and plays music. Still shaken, she's caught off guard when Jack unexpectedly brings up the idea of having a baby. She agrees to think about it. That evening, they attend a formal party hosted by Frank at a restaurant. Frank keeps his eyes on Alice while speaking with Collins in the corner, which makes her increasingly uneasy. A dancer begins a performance that reminds Alice of her visions, triggering another emotional reaction. As tears fall, she asks Jack to take her home, but he ignores her. Frank goes on stage to make a major announcement, calling Jack up to reveal he's being promoted. The celebration pushes Alice to a breaking point. She rushes to the bathroom, where she again sees the vision of the couple. Bunny enters to check on her. When Alice tries to explain what she's experiencing, Bunny interrupts, accusing her of acting out and trying to sabotage Jack's success. She tells Alice to pull herself together and fulfill her role. Alice returns to their routine and suppresses her suspicions. A few days later, Jack hosts a dinner party with Frank and Shelley in attendance. While Alice prepares the meal, Frank privately tells her that she intrigues him. He says that great men need to be challenged and hopes she continues doing so. During dinner, Alice chooses to sit at the head of the table instead of letting Jack take the spot, allowing her to face Frank directly. When the conversation turns casual, she interrupts to question the guests about their lives before moving to town and points out that many of their stories are nearly identical. The guests are reminded to cling to their scripted stories to distract them from real events, like what happened to Margaret. When Alice challenges this, Jack tries to stop her, but Frank encourages her to continue. Alice launches into a breakdown, accusing Frank of manipulating everyone to maintain control. Frank calmly dismisses her claims, saying she's experiencing the same delusions Margaret did, and even accuses her of being in his bedroom. The mood shifts. Shelley scolds Alice for causing a scene and embarrassing her husband, then walks out. The rest of the guests follow. Jack opens the door for them, while Frank tells Alice he expected better from her before leaving too. Alone with Jack, Alice breaks down again. Jack accuses her of ruining his promotion, but Alice insists she did it for them. She pleads with him to leave Victory together, promising that their relationship matters more than anything else. Eventually, Jack agrees. Alice quickly packs essentials and joins him in the car, only to be shocked when Jack suddenly apologizes. Before she can react, men in red arrive and forcibly remove her. Jack stands by crying as Alice is dragged away, screaming for help. Alice is taken to a facility for electroshock therapy. While recovering, she experiences vivid visions of herself and Jack in the real world. In this reality, Jack is unemployed, and Alice is a doctor working long shifts to support them. Jack contributes little and feels neglected, while Alice is exhausted and frustrated. He spends his time listening to Frank's podcast promoting male escape from modern societal pressure. Alice eventually wakes up back in the Victory Hospital. Dr. Collins declares her cured, and she's returned to her daily routine, behaving as if nothing happened. Days pass until Jack returns home one evening, singing the familiar tune from her visions. It's then revealed that Jack from her hallucinations is real. He enrolled in the Victory Project, which grants men access to a simulation where they can live out their ideal lives. A machine at home keeps Alice's consciousness locked inside the simulation around the clock. Like the other men, Jack only connects temporarily, while his real-world job funds the equipment. He's responsible for keeping Alice's physical body alive. Inside the simulation, Alice collapses from the mental overload caused by the memories. She confronts Jack, who admits he did it because their real lives were miserable. Alice is furious that he took away her agency and tried to manipulate her reality. She also worries about the other women and the children, but Jack explains that the children aren't real. They're just part of the simulation. As Jack begs for forgiveness and clings to Alice, she struggles to breathe. She grabs a glass and knocks him unconscious. Unbeknownst to her, death in Victory means death in real life. As Jack dies, Frank receives a call alerting him to what's happened. Bunny enters the house after hearing a commotion and immediately covers Jack's body. She tries to calm Alice, who attempts to explain the situation. Bunny reveals she already knows the truth. She chose the simulation to be with her children, who had died in real life. She tells Alice that she must reach the headquarters and disconnect herself, since Jack can no longer do it for her. Despite her fear, Alice leaves the house and sees neighbors emerging as streetlights begin exploding. The women sense something is wrong, while the men focus on finding Jack and stopping Alice. Bunny intervenes, giving Alice enough time to get into a car and drive off before the men in red arrive and start pursuing her. Alice escapes town easily, but the chase intensifies in the desert. The men in red ram her car, and Dr. Collins joins the pursuit in his own vehicle. When Alice is surrounded, she swerves out of the way, causing the other cars to crash into one another. At home, Frank gets the news of Collins' death via speakerphone. Shelley overhears the call, walks over, and stabs Frank, declaring it's her turn now. Back in the desert, Alice drives toward the hill, but her car gets stuck on a sharp turn. She abandons the vehicle and continues on foot, hoping the stuck car will slow down her pursuers. The men in red leave their cars and climb after her, forcing Alice to run up the hill at full effort. At the top, Alice reaches the dome and briefly hallucinates Jack embracing her, along with memories of their life in the real world. When the men in red appear behind her, she focuses and runs to the glass wall, placing her hands on it. Flashbacks of her real life and simulation overlap as everything fades to black. Alice gasps,